Welcome, everyone. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. We are back here today on 3117 Victory Parkway. We are continued from last week on September 24th for that hearing to give the applicant and the owner some additional time to put together some drawings or some plans for a piece of the application. And so we're going to jump right back into it. This is case number ZH20250091. We don't need to go through everything that we covered last week. If we could, let's just focus on the information that was sent to us in the interim about that one piece and what the plan for it is there. I'll give Mr. Grom and Mr. Bittner an opportunity to tell me about that. I'll hear from Trey, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Mr. Grom, if you're ready, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you sent to us?
I'm sharing my screen here.
Okay.
You can see. Obviously, last time we left off on showing a plan of what is feasible with this south portion of the site. It's a pretty narrow, long, skinny spot, but so right here we basically are creating a small little plaza space to have two of the double-sided columbarium spaces, which I can look up, or I can grab a picture of the one that actually I had sent if while I'm working here. But so essentially we're going to have it's slightly sloped down coming from the internal cemetery roadway down to 4 Acre Avenue, and we would keep the plaza space up tight as we can to the internal roadway itself, just for ease of access. We'd provide ADA accessibility. We'd have central steps down this area, and we're really only planning two of these smaller columbarium structures. Trying to bring up a photo here while I can. Here we go. And this is the plan for them, essentially. So these are double-sided. They're usually only, typically 4 high when they're this size, but they can go up to 8 high. So all of them would be under the planned octagon columbarium that we have in the other section, which is approximately what this is the octagon looks like. That's already in the existing area. So you can see these are 8 high or 7 high here. So these would be either 4 high at a minimum, but so just to get as many as we can in there. Those would be the plaza space itself would be approximately 60 feet from the sidewalk, and the columbariums would be approximately 70 feet from the sidewalk itself. So it's still a good setback from everything. And then obviously there's no adjacent houses on the technically the east or west. This north arrow should be pointing to the right here. And we have some existing wooded area on the south side, and we also have some landscape that's already been installed for a few years along the sidewalk as well. So there's already adequate buffer, and we'd be adding additional trees in these spaces as well. And this is solely going to be used for in-ground burial cremation on the backside here, as it backs up to here. So it'd be smaller spaces than what these large full-size burial spaces are shown.
Okay. Great. Mr. Bittner, did you want to add anything to that?
I would just like to say that I was fortunate enough to meet with Brian here at the site, and I explained to him what I wanted, what I had a vision for here, and he was able to draw up exactly what it was that I wanted. So I am very happy with this and hope that we can proceed.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Trey, anything you want to add?
Sure, just to point out that as Brian just testified, I mean, it appears that it's about 70 feet from the edge of the street, actually, the property line, to the first of the
Columbarium.
The columbarium, sorry.
Yep.
Lost me for a second. Yeah, first the columbarium, and anyhow, it also, I mean, that basically that's more buffering than you'd need for a manufacturing use to a, to a residential use here. So I feel very satisfied as far as that distancing. It should be more than compliant with what you would even need for a manufacturing use near a residential district. So, um, and I assume, one of the questions, I assume each one of these um, plots, the 2 by 2 foot plots, those are just like in-ground burials where there'd be just a turf lifted up and or landscaping or something, and so that'll all remain landscaping aside for the access walks or grass.
That's
It's just going to be
correct.
lawn. Yeah, it'll all be lawn, and there'll be individual units, this 2 by 2, that are cremated remains inserted into the grounds.
Okay, I was just asking because that makes sense because we buried my uncle that way up in Chicago in a urban cemetery, and it made sense. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have anything beyond that. We should point out that this is actually the parcel denoted as Z on the site plan. I would like to point that out. It's to the south of the, I think it's important to denote that on the record and in the decision. This is, yeah, labeled Z, and it's there and on the overall site plan. The other point that we did start to cover during the first phase of this hearing is that on both sides of it, all three sides of it, except the street frontage, this is surrounded by existing cemetery space. So you don't have quite the impact, especially with this 70-foot setback here. You don't have, the potential impact that you would if you were immediately adjacent to residential properties, as was the case with the area to the north where, I was concerned about additional screening. And I'm not concerned here at all because of the distance and the trees they're showing here, and then it's going to be grass. So I think that's perfectly reasonable and design component for conditional use. My only other wrap up was just to reiterate that I do think there should be some additional screening for the part that we talked about in the first on the north property adjacent to the residential existing residential building, and I think that we're all in agreement with that with Mr. Bittner and with Mr. Grome as far as that having come through planning commission and city council and so on with the zone change. That was a concern. So I think as long as that is a condition of that part, of the north part, I think I agree wholeheartedly that this should be approved for conditional use.
Okay, thanks, Trey. Yeah, could we touch on that, Mr. Grome, Mr. Bittner? In the staff report, it recommends an additional vegetative screen along the property line adjacent to the dwelling at 3100 Gilbert, with a final landscaping plan to be provided to the staff. I know that we did touch on that, but do you want to respond to that recommendation from staff?
Nope, I think Tom, Mr. Benner had already said that he would plan on doing that regardless. So we'll definitely, I can extend down the landscape roughly shown here where I clouded it, and we'll send that to Trey just for approval.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I think what we had talked about last meeting, Trey had the thought, which I had already thought about, but he made it vocal, and it's probably in the records that the arborvitae that I want to run up that line, which would be 15 feet from her home, needs to stop closest, like where the driveway ends into her property. That way, as she or her husband are backing out, they have clear line of sight for Gilbert, looking down towards Victory Parkway. And that makes total sense. Now, if we stop the arborvitae line and Miss Blue would like a few more put in there, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure that, obviously they're safe backing out, because coming down Gilbert Avenue, a lot of the cars are going quite fast. And, I just want to make sure that they're safe, number one. But I have no problem with whatever Brian draws up here for me. I'm actually ready to do that once it's complete. So I use Davy, but have Davy come in and get all these in for me, ASAP.
I want to state the exact code requirements. I've been doing this long enough, it's off the top of my head, but the site triangle for driveways it requires that there be no obstruction between a height of 3 feet and 7 feet
Okay.
for at least the last 5 feet of the drive.
Okay, so then
You could
if
continue if they want, if the homeowners want, you could continue a little bit further, although I would note with vegetation, unless it's trimmed consistently, when you have evergreens, they're gonna grow, laterally somewhat out. So, maybe
Okay.
you can split the difference. I mean, the letter of the law is 5 feet and nothing between 3 feet and 7 feet to obstruct the view of drivers. But
okay. Okay.
if you want to pull it back a little bit more, as Brian's drawn it, I think that would be ideal, because you have that tree over there too. So I think that would be ideal. And if the homeowners want, a couple of other evergreens there, some boxwood or something else, down lower or whatever, then you could do that.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. I think we can leave it at that. After reviewing all of the application materials, the supplemental materials submitted by the applicant for the Z parcel, the staff report, and all the testimony during both hearings, I think that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this application, and so I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I will get that out to you as quickly as I can. That it typically takes about 2 weeks, but I know that you all have been, going through this process for a long time. So I'm going to try and expedite that written approval to the best of my ability, get that out to you as quickly as possible. And then, as soon as Trey sees that email and that decision, he can approve the zoning permitting on his end, and you all can take the next steps. Any questions about any of that?
Yes, Mr. Starkey. This is Tom. I just wanted to know, we had talked about in our previous meeting last Wednesday, excuse me, Trey had brought up the practicality of moving the sign closer towards the intersection of Gilbert and Victory Parkway. I don't know how that works, sir, but my builder, he is waiting to get to this. He's going to need the precise drawing for this.
I have that, Tom. Yep.
You've already got that handled?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be providing it the board.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. That's all I wanted. I don't mean to butt in and cause any more time, but I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page with that can be done.
Okay, on that note, there will be 2 separate permits required. So one will be for the overall kind of expansion and the layout of things as Brian has it drawn with the landscape. And then signage requires separate building permits. So that will have to be a separate building permit. So that's an important note there. I'll try to expedite that as quickly as I can. And as a practical note, it's gone as far toward the street as, when Brian and I discussed this preliminarily, went through the plans, it's as far as it can go without encroaching onto the city's property. So, and it seems quite reasonable because it's still 30 feet or whatever, 30 something feet or whatever from the right of way, which, more than meets the spirit and intent of the code. So it really can't, as to your builder, it can't go any further because it would be on city land at that point. So we basically written up the variance here so that it's essentially a 0 setback, right, near the property line there. And then that strip of city land acts as the effectively the setback, a more than compliant setback within what the spirit and intent of the code wants. So I hope that helps explain that, but it is important that there be 2 separate permits submitted because signage always requires a separate permit.
Okay. All right. And Brian, you'll take care of that?
Yep, I'll be working with Ford to get that situated.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
And I assume we can submit for permit as soon as we receive the letter from you, Trey.
You can start submitting for permit right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Just make sure it's 2 separate permits, one for the layout of the ground with the landscaping and the columbaria and so on. And so I remember that actually for this, you're going to need multiple permits because you'll need a permit for once you've had, has the consolidation gone through on the north parcels yet?
No, the consolidation hasn't been completed yet.
Okay, that's a note because otherwise the building plan examiner, I'm glad we're discussing this. Otherwise, the building plan examiner will require a separate permit for every single one of those parcels.
Well, we
Wow.
only have, it's only on the one parcel that the columbarium was on the previous
Oh,
submittal.
previous
So that's
plan,
already,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
fine.
we really only, so I think we only need a sign permit because this is just all in-ground burials here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make the point out that if the consolidation, if you need the consolidation to go through first, yeah, that's up to you. But the signage requires a separate permit, and then you'll need permit for the actual area where you're installing the landscaping and so on the north part of it. So whatever extent you're doing that, you need a building permit for that. And then there will be a separate permit for the parcel Z.
Okay. Yeah,
That
gotcha.
makes sense because they
Yep.
each have a different parcel. Unless you're consolidating parcel Z before you do this, that's up to you. You can just do it. I'm sorry to confuse you. I just don't want you to get messed up in the building permit process because the way that B&I handles those, if it's a separate parcel, they'll give you get a separate permit for each one of those. Now, regardless, you need a separate sign permit. I don't want to slice it and dice it for you. That's your decision, but I'm just telling you how that functionally works. When somebody has multiple different parcels and they're not consolidated, they will require separate permits for that.
Yep.
And then-
No, completely understands. So with
Okay.
sign permit,
I
the
just
only
didn't
thing
want, after all you've been through, I didn't want you to get caught up in
yeah,
the timing of the consolidation and the permitting and stuff.
the only thing I'm curious on is you said a landscape permit because we're just adding landscape around the sign. We have to do a permit for that.
Well, if that's all part of, I mean, the thing is that somewhere on the record in a building permit here, I need you to show what has been approved in this hearing. So in this case,
Okay.
you're laying out grave plots, right? And you're laying out all the grave plots there and so on. So that would be like, to me, like one permit that requires a site plan. And you can share the same site plan, but always a sign requires a separate permit. You don't start doing trees and landscape, like the sign requires its own permit. So but you could share plans, like you could share the site plan. You could work that out with B&I and with whoever the building plan examiner is.
Okay.
Obviously I'm fine with it because I'm totally familiar with this project after many, many months with it. But the building plan examiner, of course, will get assigned to this and will have seen it for the first time. So
Right.
I just don't want you getting denied on multiple, having to go through multiple kind of roadblocks as a result of that. So just think that through. Regardless, the sign requires a separate permit. And then at least until these are consolidated, you're going to need a permit for the northern property and for the southern as to whether, I don't know the timing of that for the consolidation for you. Obviously, it's cleanest if they're consolidated because then everything's on the same address, same parcel as the main cemetery. You're not leaving something as an outlier in the permitting system. But I'll leave that up leave that up to you guys as to how you want to, you know what I mean? The timing of that, I don't know how long it's going to take to consolidate. But I would suggest that if you can, and it doesn't really have a major impact on construction with the timing of it, it's always best to have the consolidation occur because then you're one address, one parcel ID, and you're good.
Okay.
Then you wouldn't need a separate permit for Z either. Does that make sense? I mean, it'd be a separate permit, it'd be all with the same. You don't have separate parcel IDs, separate permits.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
Yep.
And thank you all. Best of luck with the project. You'll be seeing an email from me very soon. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you for your help.
All
Good luck,
right. Thank
guys.
you
Have a
very
great
much.
day.
Have a good afternoon.